Welcome back, everybody. We're diving into some really fascinating stuff today. Excerpts from Joseph Murphy's The Power of Your Subconscious Mind.
Oh, this is a great one. A classic.
We're going to try to unlock that treasure house within and see how it impacts health and wealth and relationships, even age.
I think you'll be amazed by what we uncover in this deep dive. Murphy's work is really surprisingly relevant even decades later.
So before we get into the specifics of all his stories and his claims and what he's saying, let's start with the basics. What exactly is this subconscious mind?
Well, the first thing to understand is that your mind has two parts.
Okay.
It's like a ship with a captain and an engine room. Your conscious mind is the captain. It makes the decisions and gives the orders. The subconscious, that's the powerful engine room, carrying out those orders. It doesn't question.
So if my conscious mind, if I'm always saying things like, I'm not good enough or I'll never be successful, my subconscious just accepts those as truth.
That's exactly it. It doesn't argue. It simply acts on the instructions it receives. So if you feed it negative thoughts, it will work to bring those into your reality,
Oh, wow.
even if you don't consciously want them. And of course, the opposite is also true.
Right.
When you feed it positive, empowering thoughts, it will work to manifest those in your life too.
That's like that story about the student who wanted that expensive travel bag.
Right.
Right. But she couldn't afford it. And she ended up getting it as a gift.
Right, she was about to say, I can't afford it. But she remembered Murphy's teaching to always reverse those negative statements.
Yeah.
And instead she declared, that bag is mine. It's for sale. I accept it mentally.
Wow.
And guess what?
She got it. Yeah. I love that. See, this is what I love about Murphy. He provides such concrete examples. So the takeaway here is, catch yourself when you're about to think something negative.
Yes,
Immediately flip it to the positive.
that's the key. It might feel a bit odd at first, but your subconscious mind, it doesn't have a sense of humor. It takes your words literally.
Speaking of taking things literally, there's that story, that other story Murphy shares, the one about the man who accidentally manifested the loss of his arm.
Oh, yes. A cautionary tale.
That one always gives me chills. For 2 years, he was so worried about his sick daughter.
Right.
Constantly saying, I would give my right arm to see my daughter cured.
It's a powerful illustration of the subconscious mind's power, but you have to understand it in context.
Right.
It's not about living in fear of your thoughts.
So it's not like every negative thought is going to manifest into something physically like that.
Exactly. It's more about recognizing the influence of suggestion, both from ourselves and from others.
Okay, so let's break that down. What do autosuggestion and heterosuggestion actually mean?
Okay. Well, autosuggestion is essentially self-talk.
Okay.
The suggestions you give yourself, consciously or unconsciously. It's that inner dialogue that can be so uplifting or self-defeating. And heterosuggestion, on the other hand, that comes from external sources. Things like news headlines, societal expectations, or what other people say to you.
Ah, like that example of the passenger on the ship who gets seasick just because someone mentioned it.
A perfect example.
Right.
But what's fascinating is that same suggestion wouldn't affect a seasoned sailor because their subconscious mind already holds a strong belief in their immunity to seasickness.
So it's not just the suggestion itself. It's
Right.
how our beliefs filter and interpret it. Like our minds are always connecting new information to our internal database.
You got it. And those pre-existing beliefs, they play a huge role in how we react, both mentally and physically.
That makes me think about the story of Murphy healing himself of skin cancer by using the power of his subconscious.
That's a remarkable claim.
How does he explain that?
Murphy learned from a clergyman that our subconscious mind, which created our bodies, also possesses the inherent knowledge to heal them.
Okay.
It's like a watchmaker who intrinsically knows how to repair a watch.
Interesting. But if our subconscious minds are so powerful, how do we access that? How do we tap into that power?
Well, that's where this concept of scientific prayer comes into play.
Okay.
Now, when I say scientific prayer, I don't mean simply wishing for things to happen.
Right.
Murphy breaks down prayer as a very deliberate and structured process.
Okay, so how does he connect prayer to science? It seems like they come from two completely different worlds.
Think of it this way. You're selling a blueprint to your subconscious mind. You start with a vivid mental picture of what you want to achieve. This could be improved health or a solution to a challenging problem. Really anything.
So instead of pleading with some external force, it's more about focusing your mind on a desired outcome.
Right. The second crucial element is faith. Not just blind faith, but a deep-seated conviction that your subconscious mind has the power to bring about that desired outcome.
Okay.
And that brings us to the techniques.
Yeah, the techniques.
The techniques Murphy suggests. for bridging the gap between your conscious desires and the power of your subconscious mind.
So things like visualization, the thank you technique, even harnessing the power of sleep.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that sleeping technique? It seems like something we can all do pretty easily.
It's deceptively simple. The goal is to reach that relaxed state just before sleep, where your conscious resistance is at its lowest and your subconscious mind is most receptive.
Okay.
Murphy recommends repeating your desired affirmation or prayer silently as you drift off.
Almost like a mental lullaby.
Exactly. He even calls it the lullaby method in the book. This repetition imprints the suggestion directly onto your subconscious mind.
While you're sleeping.
Yes. While you're asleep, it can work its magic without interference from any of your conscious doubts or anxieties.
Oh, that's great. So if I'm like grappling with a problem at work, could I repeat something like, the perfect solution is being revealed to me as I fall asleep?
Precisely. The key is to phrase your desire in a way that focuses on the solution you want rather than the problem itself. And speaking of focusing on the positive, let's talk about the thank you technique.
Yes, I've been wanting to ask about that. It sounds so simple. But Murphy claims it's really powerful, so how does it work? I'm curious about the connection between gratitude and the subconscious.
The thank you technique is all about cultivating a mindset of gratitude. It involves thanking your subconscious mind for already fulfilling your desire, even if you don't see physical evidence yet.
Okay, so instead of thinking, I wish I had more money, I would say, thank you for my financial abundance.
Exactly.
Even if I'm broke.
Yes. Gratitude acts as a magnet. When you express genuine thankfulness, your subconscious mind interprets it as confirmation that your desire is already on its way.
So it's about aligning your internal reality with what you want to see in the external world.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Do you remember any story about the man who used the thank you technique to turn his finances around? Wasn't he on the verge of bankruptcy?
Yes. He was in really dire straits, but he started thanking his subconscious for his wealth and abundance. He kept repeating, "Thank you, Father,"
Even though he was in debt.
even though he was in debt. This act of gratitude shifted his mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance.
And then what happened?
Almost as if his gratitude unlocked a door, he received a lucrative job offer. It completely changed his financial situation.
Wow. So it seems like gratitude is key here.
It's fundamental. Gratitude opens us up to being receptive. It's like we're acknowledging the power of our subconscious and allowing it to work for us.
We can't forget visualization.
Absolutely not.
It's something we hear about a lot these days, but Murphy presents it as an actual element in this scientific prayer idea.
Right. Remember that blueprint analogy? Visualization is all about creating a clear mental image of what you desire.
Okay.
It's not just seeing it. It's about really immersing yourself in the experience, engaging all your senses to make it as real as possible.
So if I want a new car, I shouldn't just picture it like sitting in my driveway. I should imagine myself driving it.
Yes.
Feeling the leather seats.
Yes.
Smell that new car smell.
Yes. The more vivid and detailed the image, the stronger the impression it makes on your subconscious mind.
That's awesome. So it's like using our imaginations as a tool.
Precisely. Murphy encourages us to be creative with our visualization. Use our imaginations like a movie director.
I love that. But what about those times when doubts and fears come up?
Right.
When it's hard to believe in what we're trying to manifest? How do we get over those mental blocks?
That's where these other techniques come in. Like the Baudron technique and the passing over technique, they're designed to bypass that conscious resistance so we can reach that deep level of acceptance in the subconscious.
Okay, so can you explain those a bit more for our listeners who might not be familiar with them?
Of course. The Baudron technique involves condensing your desire into a short phrase that's easy to remember and repeating it silently as you fall asleep.
Oh, okay.
It's like saturating your subconscious with the essence of what you want. Murphy actually shares a story about a woman who used this technique to deal with a really difficult family lawsuit.
Didn't she keep repeating the phrase, "It is finished in divine order"?
That's the one.
And then it was settled out of court.
Yeah, exactly. It really highlights how effective this technique can be in influencing events.
Wow.
Now, the passing over technique is a bit different. It's about completely surrendering your desire to your subconscious mind, trusting that it has the inherent wisdom to make it happen.
Oh, like handing over a complex problem to an expert, knowing that they'll figure it out. You're letting go of control.
Exactly. That surrender, that trust in the power of your subconscious is crucial in all these techniques. It's about letting the universe work with you, not against you.
This reminds me of another area where Murphy talks about letting go, forgiveness.
Oh,
He
yes.
actually devotes a whole chapter to it.
He does. Forgiveness is about releasing the grip that negative emotions, resentment, and guilt have on our subconscious minds. He even compares holding on to those feelings to punishing ourselves.
Wow.
He says our subconscious doesn't differentiate between past and present. So every time we replay those painful memories or harbor a grudge, we're keeping those wounds fresh, preventing ourselves from moving on.
So even if something happened years ago, if I'm still angry, my subconscious is still experiencing that hurt.
Exactly. And that can show up in all kinds of ways, from physical ailments to bad relationships. It's like carrying around a heavy weight.
It sounds exhausting. Murphy has some stories about how forgiveness leads to healing, right? Like physical and emotional healing.
He does. There's a story about a man who was overworking himself. He felt guilty about his brother's death.
Oh, right. I remember that one.
And he was punishing himself with all this work.
Yeah.
But then he was able to forgive himself and his brother.
It really is a gift, forgiveness.
It is. And Murphy offers some really practical advice on how to do it, like mentally sending love and blessings to the person you need to forgive until you feel a sense of peace.
So it's about changing our own energy, our own perspective. Forgiveness is a good transition into the last thing we'll talk about, staying young in spirit.
I see the connection.
They both seem to be about letting go of negativity and embracing new things.
Right. Murphy challenges this idea that aging has to mean decline. He says age is much more than just a number. It's a reflection of our state of mind, our spirit.
He even says our minds don't age unless we let them. That's such a great perspective.
Isn't it?
It's so empowering.
And he uses examples of people who did incredible things later in life. Cato, who learned Greek at 80, and Madame Schumann-Heink, who found huge success as a musician, even as a grandmother.
And those amazing people who accomplished so much in their 80s.
Yes.
Socrates, Michelangelo, Tennyson, Newton, and Wesley. It's so inspiring. It shows that you can keep growing and learning no matter how old you are.
It really does. The human spirit's capacity for growth doesn't diminish with time.
So it's not about denying that our bodies age.
Yeah.
It's more about refusing to believe those limiting beliefs about getting older.
Exactly. It's about challenging those negative messages we hear. Things like, you're too old for that.
Yeah, you're over the hill.
Yes. Murphy encourages us to reject those limitations. Embrace the possibilities each new stage of life brings.
I like that. Instead of thinking, I'm too old to travel, you could think, I'm excited to explore new places while I still have the energy.
That's the spirit. It's about reframing aging, not as an ending,
but a continuation.
Yes, a continuation of this amazing journey and enjoying the wisdom and experience that comes with age.
So we're not just getting older.
Right.
We're getting wiser.
Exactly. And remember, life is a process of continuous learning. Each stage has its own unique gifts to offer.
Before we wrap up this section, I want to touch on one last thing. Relationships. Murphy talks about how the subconscious mind affects marriage.
He does.
Why do you think he focuses on that so much? How does the subconscious impact our relationships?
Well, Murphy believes our relationships are essential because they touch every other part of our lives.
Okay.
And he says that what we think and believe about ourselves and others directly impacts the quality of those relationships. One of his big things is aligning our thoughts and actions with the golden rule.
Do unto others.
Exactly. Treat others the way you want to be treated. And he emphasizes that this goes beyond our actions. It includes our thoughts as well.
So it's not just about being polite on the outside. It's about genuinely feeling love and goodwill towards other people, even when you're alone with your thoughts.
Yes. It's about realizing that we're all connected. The energy we put out there impacts not just us, but everyone around us. He says, what we send out mentally, we attract back into our lives.
So if I'm always judging other people, even just in my head, that creates negativity that affects my relationships.
It can. He also says that judgment is often a reflection of things we haven't dealt with in ourselves.
Oh, interesting.
It's a good reminder to look within first.
There's that verse in the Bible, judge not lest you be judged.
That's a good one. It speaks to that idea of interconnectedness. Murphy gives specific steps for building positive relationships.
What kind of steps?
He talks about empathy and understanding, trying to see the world through the eyes of others.
Instead of jumping to conclusions.
Right. It's about connection and compassion. and actually sending out love, peace, and goodwill to others.
Because other people can sense those things, right?
That's what Murphy says. Those vibes are picked up by the subconscious mind, and it creates trust and affection.
Do you remember that story about the actor with stage fright?
Oh, yes. He hated the audience.
Yes. But then he started praying for them, sending them good vibes.
And it totally transformed his performance.
Wow.
It's amazing how powerful love can be.
It sounds like a lot of relationship problems are actually problems in our own minds.
That's a good way to put it. It all comes back to our thoughts and beliefs.
So if you're having issues with someone, maybe your spouse or a coworker, try focusing on empathy and understanding.
Yes. And remember, your relationships are a mirror of your inner world.
That's a good point.
When you change your thoughts and beliefs, you can change your relationships.
I think we've covered a lot today.
We have.
We've talked about so many ways to tap into the power of the subconscious mind. But before we finish this part, what are some key things you think listeners can start using today? From Murphy's book. Well, we're back, still exploring this awesome world of the subconscious mind with Joseph Murphy's The Power of Your Subconscious Mind.
Such a powerful book.
It has been a really fascinating journey.
It has.
From the influence of autosuggestion and scientific prayer to, the importance of forgiveness and cultivating a youthful spirit, I feel like we're just scratching the surface.
We really are. There's just so much there to unpack.
I mean, it can be overwhelming, right? To think about how to actually apply all this stuff.
It can be, but it's exciting too.
So for someone listening, where do you even begin? What's like a good first step?
It's all about recognizing that your thoughts are powerful. They're not just these random things floating around. Your thoughts actually shape your reality.
So being aware of those thought patterns.
Yes, those stories you tell yourself all the time, often without even realizing it.
So becoming aware of those is like step one.
Yes. Start paying attention to that inner voice.
Yeah.
Are your thoughts helping you, or are they holding you back?
And once you've kind of identified those, you can start using these techniques, right?
Right, the ones we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Repetition, visualization, feeling.
Okay, so don't just repeat affirmations without meaning.
Exactly.
Make it real.
Yes, engage your senses.
Like really feel it.
Absolutely.
And of course, trust.
Oh, trust is huge. You have to surrender, let go of that need to control everything. Allow that infinite intelligence within you to do its thing.
It's like you plant a seed and then trust that it will grow. You don't have to micromanage it, right?
Perfect analogy.
Just create the right conditions.
That trust, that faith in your own mind.
Yeah.
That's what allows you to tap into those limitless possibilities inside you.
That's what I find so inspiring about Murphy.
You too.
He doesn't tell you to just believe in some outside force. He says, you have the power. Believe in yourself. You are the creator. And that creative power, it doesn't just go away as you get older.
No, it's always there.
So embrace that journey.
Yes.
Keep learning and growing. And like Murphy says, age is really just a number. It's our thoughts that matter most.
That's true.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here, I want to encourage you, the listener, to pick one area.
Yes.
One area in your life where you really want to see change.
Think about it. What aspect of your health or your wealth, your relationships, even your personal growth, where do you want to see a shift?
What do you want to let go of?
What possibilities are you ready to open yourself up to?
Experiment. Play around with these techniques. See what happens when you change your thinking.
It's amazing.
Cultivate gratitude.
Yes.
And above all, trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in the power of your mind to create the life you want.
A life of health and happiness.
That's what we're all striving for.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey.
It's been a pleasure.
Keep exploring, keep growing, and keep believing in the incredible power of your own mind.